Hey, toward the mountaintop. I hope that everybody is having a really great night. I sent an invite to Stacey Arnold and okay, here we go. I hope it works. Hey, you're there.
Hi, I am.
Okay, I'm disappointed that you were way too efficient at joining this video because that didn't give me the
Oh,
chance to put like a cat filter on or something like that. There.
well, I've locked mine out of the room because he's noisy. So
Oh no, I meant something like this. So,
I didn't even know that would work.
oh, it does. Don't worry. I've got this all figured out. So, okay, so what we'll do is I have the questions that everybody has posted, and what I thought we would do is I would just sort of read the questions and you can sort of you can answer them, but I would love for you, and I know that a lot of people will probably watch this video later. So
Mhm.
what we can do too is just sort of tag people in it as they end up having time to watch. So how about you just go ahead and introduce yourself to anybody who has not had the pleasure of meeting you in person, and just talk a little bit about how you got started in photography and what your background is.
Yeah. So I'm Stacey Arnold, and I started doing photography things when I was a kid. My dad handed me his old 35 millimeter Minolta when I was like 10, I think, when we were on a trip to Arizona to visit my grandparents. And I went batshit crazy with that camera. I'm pretty sure they regretted it because I took like 25 rolls of film over the course of a week. And I'm sure processing that was not cheap, but I got a lot of pictures out of it that I still love to this day.
Yeah.
And I got totally hooked on it, kept using the camera a ton. And then in high school, I took a black and white photography class, which was amazing. There's something super, super special about seeing the images come to life in the developer baths.
Yeah.
It's super magical. And then after high school, I went to college and I dealt with some seasonal depression and a lot of anxiety, and I got really out of the habit of taking pictures, even though it was something that I absolutely love to do. And 3 years ago now, I bought my first digital SLR camera, and because I'm a cheapskate, I decided that I was going to use every penny of that camera, and I made a goal to go out every single week to take pictures in a thoughtful fashion, not just like snapshot things or take pictures with the cat in the house and things like that. So,
Guilty.
um, right, yeah, it's embarrassing how many cat pictures I have on my phone between the two of them. Um, so I ended up meeting that goal. I went out every week, and there were some weeks that I ended up going out 2 or 3 times to take pictures, and just got hooked and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced, and started to actually like the pictures that I took.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they were all terrible, because if you shoot 1,000 pictures, you're probably going to like one. But and then ever since then, it's just led me further out into the wilderness. I kind of started by walking around the neighborhood and driving around the county and around work and things like that. And I kept going further and further afield. I mean, there were some days where I'd drive 300 or 400 miles just taking pictures.
Wow.
And yeah, my poor car.
Yeah.
That's why the transmission died. I'm pretty sure. Um, and then I started going hiking again, like I did when I was in high school, and spending time outdoors as a kid, and got back into hiking and camping and all of that. And um, it's led to some absolutely amazing adventures and meeting a whole bunch of really cool new people. And so
And,
it's
and
something that's pretty wonderful.
how did it, you said that you had struggled with some seasonal depression. And so do you feel like the photography helped you deal with that in many ways?
Oh, a ton. I mean, I was really motivated to go take pictures, and it became kind of an addiction. And so I would get out and be outside more. And so I'd get more sunlight, and just being outside has a really positive impact on mental health to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And so talking to the therapist that I had through that, I mean, I credit photography and being outdoors with a huge amount of the fact that I am able to function pretty dang well now without medication, whereas before I was an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
clearly a big
super thankful that I've
so
super thankful that I bought my camera.
I am too, because I don't think that we would have met if you hadn't bought a camera. So
Probably not.
I am also very thankful that you bought a camera. So I'm going to awkwardly look to the side here to read the questions. So I'm not paying attention, just so everybody knows. But our first question is from Brenda. And Brenda asks if you have any tips for keeping your fingers warm while outdoor shooting. She says that she alternates between fingerless wool gloves with mitten flaps over them to snow mittens with warmers inside. And she says that maybe frozen fingers are a part of the game when shooting outdoors, but she's always looking to improve this area. And then April was also wondering if you had any tips for cold hands.
Yeah, so I am terrible with wearing gloves. I hate wearing them. Just about the only time that you'll actually see me wear gloves is when I'm cooking chicken, because I will not touch raw chicken with my bare hands. But the things that I do is I hike really hot. So when I'm taking pictures in the wintertime, I'm usually pretty warm anyway. But a couple of things that you can do, stick your hands warm places on your body. So everybody has underarms, everybody has between their legs that they can, between their thighs that they can poke their hands. More well-endowed women can use their boobs if they want to.
Yeah, I no problem. I think your neck works.
Yeah, you can do your neck as well. The thing with doing your neck is that is going to make your whole body cold, just like on the same principle as like those cool towels that you'd use in the summertime.
That's a good point.
And so then like, you know, people wear neck gaiters to keep themselves warm in the wintertime because you have so much blood flow going through.
Yeah.
That's going to chill you quite a lot. So it all depends on how you feel about that.
Okay.
The fingerless gloves with the mitten flaps are great. If the mitten flaps are large enough, you can actually poke a hand warmer in that.
That's
so that you can quickly flip them back on. Most cameras don't have a lot of functions that you need to use your left hand for. So that is going to make it so that you can constantly wear a glove on that hand. And so if you constantly wear a glove on that hand, I would carry your camera in that hand if you can, and then only take your right hand out of your pocket or wherever you have it stashed to keep it warm for when you're actually taking pictures. And that's going to help quite a lot with that.
Okay. That's a great idea. Okay.
And then there's also actually one more thing.
Oh yeah.
Somebody on one of the women's hiking groups, I think, posted a link to a thermal lotion that is supposed to be really good for people with Raynaud's syndrome in their hands. So they swear by it.
Yeah, my mom has Raynaud's, so I will have to
find
out what that is and link it.
Yeah, I have a link. I actually sent it to my mom because she's got neuropathy and bad circulation from diabetes. So
okay.
I'll make sure to add that at the end.
Okay, that sounds great. The next question is also cold related, and it just says that a question on battery life and how the cold affects it, and if you have any tips related to that.
Cold definitely affects batteries. Most cameras use lithium-ion batteries, which suck in the cold. So your best bet for batteries is to carry lots of them. I have found that generally I get about a third to half as much battery life out of my batteries in the cold as I do in normal temperatures. And I'm talking like 43 degrees or so and below, then you really start to see it eating the batteries. Something that's going to help a ton is to keep your batteries warm by keeping them on your body.
Okay.
And I don't mean just like an external pocket. Stick it in a crevice somewhere. Keep them in a Ziploc bag so they don't get moist at all. And that's going to be in the wintertime or the summertime. So there's times where I will not hike with a pack if I'm just doing a short hike. I'll still carry everything I need to carry, but I'll carry it in my pockets.
Okay.
But with batteries and any other types of electronics, you want to put it in a Ziploc before you put it in anything.
Okay.
The easiest way I've found to carry things is to take a Ziploc bag and poke a hole in one side of the bag near the zipper and actually tuck the battery in the bag in the waist of your pants inside, and then flip the edge over and hook it over your button. So it stays there, it doesn't slide around,
Oh,
and
that's
you've got a nice warm area right there.
Cool.
So
I love that idea. A button.
And easy to get to.
So, okay, so this is from Christy. What are some good online resources for DSLR, and are there any YouTubers worth checking out?
My favorite resource when I was just getting started is a website and Facebook page called digitalphotographyschool.com, and there's dashes in between each word. They post and have lots of articles that are really easy to understand.
Okay.
And using the manual functions on cameras, the numbers on like aperture are like gauging on wire. So 16 gauge is smaller than a 0 gauge,
right?
Even though that doesn't really make any sense. And apertures are the same way. And the way they word things made it really easy to understand and figure that out. I'd known that before, but it had been the better part of 10 years since I'd studied it, and I couldn't remember it anymore.
Okay.
And then YouTube videos, I'm terrible about sitting and watching videos, and so I don't have any good recommendations for that.
Okay.
There are a couple of photographers that I follow online. One is Nick Page Photography. He's out in southeastern Washington. He has a lot of paid stuff, and I've just dabbled with a couple of them, but he is fantastic, and I love his work. And then Gary Randall is here in Oregon near Mount Hood, and he doesn't have a lot of tutorials or anything, but he's a heck of a lot of fun to watch, and you can learn a lot just by following him and reading the responses, because he is like this fount of knowledge, and he totally is willing to share everything. He does do workshops as well. That's not something I've been able to do yet, but he's a super engaging person.
Okay,
so.
Cool. And once we're done the video, we'll just sort of try to remember to write everything down below just so it's captured.
Yeah.
How do you pack your camera and keep it clean? And then there's a third question, and I'll ask that later so you don't forget it.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah. There are 3 ways that I carry my camera. One is in my hand. I don't like wearing a neck strap because it hurts my neck because it's too heavy, and then because of how I'm shaped, it ends up just being a pendulum, and it bangs me in the stomach when I walk. So I have this wrist strap right here that I made. They have hand straps that you can get that just wrap over this part, and you can slide your hand in. I don't like that because if I have to scramble it all, my hand is stuck in the camera and I have to fish it out. Whereas with the wrist strap, I can keep it on here and I can let it go and just be gentle with it, or I can tuck it behind my arm while I'm using my hands.
Okay.
And then, or if I'm just standing there, I can just let it loose. And the way I have it made, and I can take a picture and post it.
That'd be great.
It just slides, and so it tightens right up. So, so that's the way I carry it.
Okay.
And then also, if I'm tired of carrying it, I will also tuck it into the chest strap on my pack. But the thing that you have to pay attention to is if it's raining, that's going to get more wetness on it, because it can come down through the neck of your jacket or through the zipper. And then if you have it tucked in underneath your jacket, if you're sweating at all, it's going to steam the camera and cause condensation, which is not good.
Okay.
The second way that I carry it, if I'm not carrying it on myself and I'm worried about any wetness, is just a basic dry bag. I don't know if I can back up far enough here. This is just a cheapo one from REI. It's done really well, and I just toss everything in here. I made some felt, just cheap felt from Joann Fabric, wrappers for my lenses and the camera itself for when they go in here, so it doesn't take up a lot of space, but it keeps them nice and protected.
Perfect.
And then the third way is for when I'm just going to be out in the car, and I have this little pack right here. Not really great for hiking or anything, but it's an actual photo bag, and it's by Loe Pro. And inside, it has a bunch of containers that you can move around. They're modular, and that makes it so that you can get everything poked in there and separated, and you don't have to worry about it too much. This isn't actually my favorite bag in the world, but it was a gift, and it works well enough for now until I get the one that's $300 that I really want.
Okay. That sounds great.
That one is, they have these really awesome ones for people who do outdoor photography, that you have space for your day essentials and everything, and in the bottom half of it, there's actually the waist strap spins around, and you can bring the camera portion of it out for your quick access gear, and so then it acts kind of like a fanny pack that you can spin around, which is really cool.
So one other question from her was, what editing program, if any, do you like to use?
So editing programs are going to be based on whether you're shooting in RAW or JPEG. For those of you that don't know what RAW is, that is a format that's similar to a negative. So you can liken it to the difference between taking pictures and dropping them off at the grocery store to have them developed, or going into a dark room and editing that way. Sorry. So RAW is what most professionals shoot on, and there's a lot more editing capabilities. If you're going to be doing that, then Adobe has a package. They just raised the prices of it because they changed things up a little bit, but it's $14.99 a month, and you get full access to Lightroom and Photoshop.
Okay.
Lightroom is the digital equivalent of going and processing your pictures in a dark room, and Photoshop, everybody knows what that is.
Okay.
If you're going to shoot JPEG, there's not a lot of intensive editing that you can do. The camera kind of does it already for you when it saves. But PicMonkey Online actually is a fantastic one that is super easy to use, and hardly any learning curve, and you can do a lot of adjustments and put words on there if you want to and things like that. And it integrates with most social media platforms if you're going to be using those.
Cool. That's great. Okay, what is the best, this is from Steve, who asked, what's the best type of filter for taking pictures in the mountains?
Yeah. So I forgot to take this off my other lens here, but the one that I take when I'm hiking, well, there's two. So if you are not terribly worried about reflections on things, or you don't want to do long exposures in bright daylight or anything, you can just get away with putting a UV filter on your lens. I don't know. Yeah, you can see it pretty well. So you can see that the glass is actually really close to the edge here. So if you're hiking and you're carrying your camera, if you brush into anything, it's going to swipe across the lens. And they're pretty robust, but this is a $150 item, and my other lens is a $400 lens. I don't want to get a scratch on that.
Yeah.
So if you use a UV filter, which I don't have in here with me right now, but it's just a cheap little piece of glass. Film cameras needed them. Digital cameras don't, but they still make them because they're really useful for protecting your glass.
Yeah.
This is the one that I use the most, and you can kind of see with my skin that it turns things darker. So this removes about 1.5 stops of light. I won't get into what that means, but obviously it's making things a little bit darker. But this is what they call a polarizing filter, and I don't think it's going to show the difference because there's nothing blue in here. But if you see landscape shots that have really intensely blue skies, what this filter does is it has basically like micro lines in it, and there's two pieces here that twist.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, so the part on this side is what's on your camera, and the part that I'm spinning is the part that you spin when you're taking pictures. And what that does is it removes or enhances reflected light. So any moisture that's in the air, if you twist it enough, it's going to remove the reflection, and the camera's going to be able to see through that.
Yeah.
Or if you're taking a picture on a lake and you want to see the reflection, you can twist it and enhance that, so you can get the trees or the mountains showing, or you can intensify rainbows, which is really cool too.
I had no, I think I've just like slapped one of those things on my lens before, and I had no idea that you could do that.
Yeah. So if you are trying to get bluer skies or you're trying to do reflections, the best way to do it is at around a 90-degree angle away from the sun. So if you're taking pictures, if I'm taking a picture of you, I want the sun either there or there.
Okay.
And that because of the way light refracts off of things. It'll still work behind and even facing the sun, it doesn't work so much, but it does help a little bit if you're a little off from center.
Okay.
And then there's one more filter that screws on. There's actually two types of filters. There's screw-on filters like these that go directly on there. There's also square filters that slot into one. If you're doing like super professional landscape photography, you would probably want to get some of the filters that slip in. There's a little contraption that you screw onto the camera and then they actually slide in front. But to get ones that are actually worth the darn, they're super, super expensive. So unless you're wanting to go pro and you really know your stuff, I wouldn't worry about it. I don't even worry about it. But there's a neutral density filter. So if you want to get pictures of waterfalls with super, super silky looking water, a neutral density filter is going to darken the scene and make it so that you can run your shutter open longer so that you get that super silky effect even in daylight. It'll also help if you've ever taken a picture of a waterfall and like a part of it is almost completely white and you can't see any details. It'll also help it so you can make your settings dark enough so that doesn't happen. So
that's awesome to know. Because
filters are awesome.
The person who's done a 20-second exposure on a waterfall and ended up with just a completely white screen.
Yeah. Filters are really amazing because cameras, and actually I'll address something that a lot of photographers hate. There's a lot of people out there that really bash on photographers that do a lot of post-processing, which is what professionals call editing, because they think that you should be able to get the picture right in the camera, no matter what. And one of the best arguments is Ansel Adams spent hundreds of hours on pictures in the darkroom.
Yeah.
He's one of the most famous outdoor photographers anywhere.
Yeah.
And digital cameras especially cannot see all the differences between light and dark that the human eye can. So if you're taking a picture of a really pretty sunset and you've been frustrated that either the foreground, all the ground is really dark and you can't see any details, or the sky is really bright and you can't see any details in that, that's because the camera just can't see that. So filters can help with that. There's graduated neutral density filters where it'll be dark on one side, one half, and light on the other, so that you can line it up with the horizon and try to get something in a single shot, or you can take 2 shots or 3 shots and bracket so that you're exposing for all the different light conditions, merge them later.
That is awesome. Thank you. Okay.
And then, no, that's fine. Yep. So, I thought I didn't answer something, but I did.
No, that was perfect. So 2 people had asked about the filters. So Lou and Steve had both asked about the filters. And then Lou also asked if you had any tips or tricks for panoramas or for capturing the northern lights. And I don't know if you have like been around the northern lights or anyway. So panoramas and northern lights.
So panoramas, you can really use any lens for a panorama. When you take the pictures for the panoramas, you want to overlap by about 30%, so about 1/3 of your frame. So, and the reason why is when you put it into a stitching program, it's going to use markers in that. So, say you're taking a picture of Mount Rainier from one of the surrounding peaks, and you've got some trees that are fairly close by that are pretty prominent. If you have that in a couple of different frames, that computer program is going to see that, and it's going to be able to use that to line things up. Otherwise, you have to go in and do things manually, which is insane.
Yeah.
There's way too many details, and the lenses distort pictures and things like that, so it becomes really a pain in the neck. It's amazing that anybody was able to do panoramas with film.
Yeah.
And then what lens you want to use really depends on what kind of panorama you want to do. So when most people think of a panorama, they think of something that is this really long, skinny picture, but really technically any set of pictures that's stitched together to make a larger one with more details is a panorama. So I took a picture of Panther Creek Falls out on the Washington side of the gorge, north of Carson, and this is an enormous waterfall. It's probably close to 100 feet wide, and I don't even remember how tall, but I took 15 shots and I stitched it all together to get something that you could really see the details of it, because I was far enough away that you really couldn't see all those details, but if I got any closer, there was so much spray you wouldn't be able to see it on the camera. And what I ended up doing is using, this is an 18 to 55 millimeter lens. It's a really common kit lens. It just comes with most cameras. And so 18 millimeters is shooting really wide open, which when you see landscapes that are really expansive looking, they're shot with wide angle. When you see something that looks small and detailed, it's shot with a zoom, and this one is like a semi-zoom. So I actually had zoomed in, I think, to about 45 millimeters, which is actually pretty tight. Well, there's a pile of laundry on the floor, so it would have had a soft landing, but it's pretty tight. But then I was able to get in and get a lot of details from further away and then stitch them together, because zoomed in like that, you can't see the entire waterfall. So biggest tip is just to play with it. Okay. Take lots of pictures and put it on a tripod. Okay. If you put it on a tripod, you're going to be able to get a nice straight image. If you shoot handheld, if you tilt at all like this, it's going to create issues. I'm able to brace my camera up against my chest like this, and I can rotate like this, but it's because I have a lot of practice. So because I take a panorama at pretty much every summit that I've been at. So I've just done tons of them. And that's, I mean, even when I'm out on logging roads in my car, I take a ton of panoramas too, so.
Okay, cool. And then the Northern Lights.
Oh, yeah. So unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to take pictures of the Northern Lights. I have tried multiple times, and I've always gotten fogged or clouded in, because sometimes you can see them down here. Northern Lights, you want to really play with the ISO settings on your camera and figure out what is going to be an acceptable level of noise for you. So the higher ISO, the higher the number, the greater the noise in your camera, and the more speckles are going to be on your picture, which you can get rid of when you post-process, but you also lose detail when you do that. So my camera is a Nikon D3200, and I absolutely love this little camera. It has done a ton for me, but I don't even like going above ISO 400 in it because it gets really, really noisy. It's not the greatest for night shots. So what I did was I got a couple of different sheets of paper, made sure that they were really smooth. You can't use like construction paper because it's kind of speckled looking. But I went to, we've got Craft Warehouse here. I don't know if you guys have it up there. And I went to the scrapbooking section and grabbed a piece of blue paper, piece of green paper, one of each color. And I took pictures of those at different ISOs to see how it affected the different colors. And blue shows it a lot more. Green and purple, which is in the Northern Lights, they both have purple in them, or blue in them. So they're going to show it a little bit. So you want to play with that. And then exposures of like 20 seconds, 30 seconds are going to be perfectly acceptable, because they're not changing that much. That might make any clouds that are going on kind of streak, but that might end up being dramatic. Mm-hmm. And then if you have any foreground when you're taking pictures of the Northern Lights, which you probably will or you should, because you're going to be shooting pretty wide angle, and wide angle pictures look really boring unless you get something close into the frame.
Right.
Then taking a flashlight with a nice strong light or a headlamp or lantern or something like that so that you can use that to illuminate something to focus on is really important. If you are trying to just get focus on something, you think there's enough light to do it, there's not. There's never enough light at night to be able to do that. Even with the supermoon that we've had, there's not enough light. So turn the flashlight on, use it just for the focus. Don't worry about how it changes your light meter, and then you can shoot from there. Switch over into manual if you have that option. If you don't, every camera, when you press on the shutter button, there's like a half press and there's a full press, which actually takes the picture. If you do the half press, that actually locks the focus in, and you just hang on to that until you have the ability to, or until you want to take the shot. Which long exposures, you're going to introduce a little bit of shake, but
yeah,
that is what it is.
And then I think Rudy just popped up a question and just asked about editing. And
yeah.
And so we mentioned it a little bit, but can you just refresh his memory on what program you use?
Yeah, Rudy. Because I shoot RAW, I use Lightroom and Photoshop, mostly Lightroom. There is a fairly steep learning curve with Lightroom though, and you really only need to do it if you're shooting in RAW. I wouldn't bother if you're shooting in JPEG. JPEG, a lot of people use PicMonkey online, and I've used it myself actually sometimes when I need to just resize something real quick and I don't have time to screw with my laptop. But those are both really great programs.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry about it.
That's okay.
He said that he came in late. He was sorry.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad you're here, Rudy. So Allison asked a question that is a little similar to another one that I just wanted to see if you had anything else to add. You sort of also already covered carrying the camera and how you carry it, but Allison asked, what's the best way to carry your camera when you have a heavy pack? She doesn't want to stuff it in the pack brain because she won't have it when she needs it, but she doesn't want it slamming her in the chest when she hikes.
Yeah.
So is that the situation where you would maybe tuck it into your strap? So
The chest strap.
Penduluming?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, you can do that. There's also a company called Peak Designs that has a camera clip.
Okay.
It's also $70. So unless you're using it a lot, like I'm super cheap. I would love to have one, but I can't justify it when I have other options. I am working on, and this is like really, really early on, so don't expect anything. Anybody who's or it's going to be like a year before I get anything organized for this. But I am working on figuring out a way to make a similar product that is very modular for backpackers.
Yay.
Because carrying my camera drives me nuts. I actually really like holding it because, like with trekking poles, it helps keep your hands from turning into sausages. And some hikes I don't feel like I want to use the poles, and so that's nice. But then the hikes I want to wear poles. If it's hanging from my wrist strap that I have, it bangs around on the pole, and that sucks. Mm-hmm. Plus, it would be nice to use your pole as a monopod, mm-hmm. which would be really, really fun.
Yeah, it's going to happen faster than a year. My prediction.
Oh God, I'm already all stressed out with everything that's happening this week with the business.
So speaking, I think we got through all of the questions. So
there was actually, there was one thing that I forgot because I wrote down everything too here.
Yeah.
Two things. The online resources. I've heard really good things about Creative Live. They have online classes. And then keeping your camera clean. I have never cleaned my camera. And I don't know how this happened because I'm a terrible klutz. I have all sorts of scars with stories from when I've been carrying my camera to prove it, but I have not gotten a lot of dust or dirt inside my camera or on the outside. Normally I'll get a little bit on the bottom of the camera, but it's the bottom. I don't worry about it that much, and I'll wipe it off with a baby wipe when I get back to the car. Something that will help is when you go to change your lens, you want to make sure that your camera is always off. The reason why is when it's on, the sensor has electricity running through it. And if you open it up, that's going to suck dust right into the camera.
Ooh.
You also want to practice changing your lenses. Do it at home when there's not a lot of dust going on or anything. And on the lenses, you've got your base cap that you pull off. So I try to find a reasonably flat spot where I'm not going to knock my lens off and roll it down a hill. And then I loosen that, and I actually just set it back in it and through and and take this off, and then I'll exchange it really quickly. Or you can, I have changed lenses exactly how I just showed right there by sticking this here and doing that real quick. So it's possible to do it. And if you are anywhere dusty, if you are anywhere wet, you want to shield it with your body.
Okay.
So changed my lenses at waterfalls before by turning my back to it and hunching over and making sure that I don't see any water hitting my filter. Mm-hmm. If I don't see anything hitting that, then I know it's safe to change it, because you don't want water inside because it'll corrode.
Okay. That's great.
And one actual last thing too, if you can get your hands on silica gel packets. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you can read that. This one's got peanut butter jelly on it.
Do not right?
If you can get your hands on some of those, they sell them on Amazon. I was lucky enough to get some from the shoe department at work. These come in some of the stuff that they pull in when they get slippers in the wintertime. You can reuse these. You can actually pop them in your dehydrator and dehydrate them. Always, always, always keep one of these and a giant Ziploc bag for anything when you're hiking when it's cold. Because if you get in your car and you crank the heat, that's going to suck moisture straight into your camera. And so I always put my camera either in my dry bag and roll it up with one of these in there, or in a Ziploc and seal it really well and throw one of these in there. And that's going to pull all of the moisture away from it. And then instead of throwing it away, since it's awful stuff, I just reuse them over and over. You can either you can put them in your oven on really low, or put them in your food dehydrator if you have one.
Yeah.
And then put them in a Ziploc to store.
Cool. Was that all the questions, Stacey? I think we hit them all.
I think so. Yeah.
So.
Go
ahead.
I wrote a couple of notes. Northern Lights, the time of year. Most of the notifications that I've gotten for them have been during like the summer and early fall.
Okay.
I honestly don't know if that's the best time to do them. Angie, how do you say her last name? Regensburg?
Yeah.
She just went to Iceland and she took pictures of the Northern Lights. And I know that part of the reason why she was going was to do that, so she might actually know when the true season is for it.
Yeah.
Milky Way pictures are in the summertime.
Okay, so Milky Way's in the summer.
Yep.
So I know that you are, first off, thank you for doing this and answering.
Of course.
That was a lot of questions, and I know that everybody is going to really, really appreciate this. I know.
Oh my God, we've been talking for 40 minutes.
It goes quick, right? It's awesome.
It does, yeah.
So just before we end, talk a little bit. I know that you're planning a photography class, and do you have dates for that? Talk about what this is.
I have some tentative dates. I was planning on starting the classes in March, but Jess McLean was kind enough to tag me in a post on the Pacific Northwest Outdoor Women, and so I had a whole bunch of responses that I'm kind of actually overwhelmed by, and I don't want to lose those people, so I'm hoping to do one on the 27th. It's going to be up your way, so it's going to be somewhere in between Tacoma and Seattle, and I'll probably do one February 10th as well, depending on how many people I get signed up. I need to do at least 5 people per. I would prefer up to 10. The problem I'm having with that, which hopefully people in this group can help me with, is I need to find a place to do it.
Okay.
I'm not going to have my business license before then, so I need to find a park. It's going to be an outdoor class. Mm-hmm. I need to find a park with a reservable shelter that I can have access to as long as I have liability insurance, which I can do. Okay. But the class itself is going to be 4-ish hours, probably somewhere between 4 and 5. And it's going to be $75. We're going to cover manual settings, composition. I'm going to have materials for everybody to make a raincoat for their camera. And then I'm hoping to have the photography basics booklet that I'm working on done by then. I might have to mail them out to people, but everybody will get one regardless.
Yeah.
And I'm super, super excited to teach it.
super
So
proud of you. That's like, just
thank you.
seemed like so, like, not that long ago that this was just a fledgling dream, and now it's becoming a real thing. I feel like I'm gonna start crying on a live video with you.
Oh, so after the response to just tagging me in that video yesterday, I was riding the high all day and had a heck of a time falling asleep. And then on my way to work this morning, while I was waiting for my car to get filled up, I came across this article about this little girl on Facebook, and I just bawled all the way into work because I was just so grateful and relieved.
Well,
And
I am going to speak toward the mountaintop, the first ever double live Facebook video crying saga. So I will not do that to everybody in this group. As wonderful as many times as everybody has seen me cry on a live video, they don't need to see two of us cry at once.
right.
Well, seriously, this was so much fun, and I learned a lot, and I know Aaron is going to watch this video when he gets home from work tomorrow because he was excited about it but had to work. So if anybody watching this video has more questions, I know Stacey will post some of the links that we talked about, some of the products we talked about, but if anybody has anything else that we didn't cover, go ahead and post it below, and I know that Stacey will be all over this post, and hopefully for those of you who haven't had the opportunity to meet her at the meetup on the 20th, I know that you'll be there. And Stacey is way more fantastic in person, and every single person who's met her will agree with me on that. So you guys are really gonna love meeting her, and anybody who takes her class is just gonna have the best time. So thank you.
I'm super excited.
Me too. Thank you so much, Stacey.
Yes, Rudy, we definitely need to meet. You need to come to the meetup.
Yeah, Rudy.
I live in Portland, so you're a long ways away from me.
Okay, have a great night, everybody. Thank you, Stacey.
Good night.
Bye.